back in the early 60s, the Chicano was really segregated to the east side. And there wasn't a lot of entertainment for kids. They started to organize the CYO clubs, the car clubs, the girls clubs, and they started to have small dances. Lincoln Heights, Boyle Heights, local bands, and it was these local bands, the Jaguars, the Salas Brothers, the Romancers, that were the beginning of the East Side sound.
It's just like heaven being here with you.
There was a whole system set up for these early East Side bands to play. There were already existing dance halls throughout East Los Angeles, church halls, high school auditoriums. You could almost go on tour and never leave the area.
I do.
At El Monte Legion Stadium, traveling big-name artists from the East Coast were often backed by local Chicano rockers. And East Side bands got their first chance to play before big audiences. Music brought young Angelinos together as never before.
I think the audiences at El Monte Legion Stadium were probably 70%, Latinos, all mostly right from East LA and thereabouts. And also the other 30% were kids that wanted to dance. It came from Beverly Hills and Southgate and Westwood and the Valley and everywhere you can think of. So there was this mix of audience there.
One of the seminal producers, managers, involved in Chicano rock and roll in the 1960s was an Anglo named Eddie Davis.
Eddie Davis was himself a singer and a performer back when he was young, and I would say maybe a frustrated artist, and decided he wanted to get involved in the recording industry. Did some recordings, on his own, and decided that there was a wealth of talent in the East LA community.
Eddie Davis met a guy who was 10, 15 years younger than he was, named Billy Cardenas, who was already working with and discovering and looking for Chicano bands to record and manage.
The reason I got into it originally was the fact that Mexican Americans did exist. We were being passed by the Mexican stations. They wouldn't play our stuff. So we were passed by the American stations because they didn't know who we were. And so what I did was start recording, start pushing for them. Hey, Mexican Americans do exist, and we're here, and we're going to be here. And that was it. People start listening.
Eddie Davis set up record companies with labels such as Faro and Linda. He brought groups into the studio. He recorded them. He and Billy Cardenas looked for the sound that they wanted. It wasn't a sound that Capitol Records or Columbia was dictating. It was the sound that they wanted. It was the sound of the streets. It was the immediate sound of the bands getting together in their backyard, in their neighborhood. There might be a little mistake on the record. There might be a note that was wrong, or somebody came in too early. But that didn't matter because it was as close as possible to what was happening right there immediately.
What it is a crossover from rhythm and blues influence to the ranchera influence to the rock and roll influence. So you got all that mixture of things, and as you get into the blender, you put the aguacate and things like that, and you blend, and you come out with this.
Farmer John.
One of the earliest examples of the new East Side sound was Farmer John by the Premiers.
Farmer John arrived from the Don and Dewey old record, and at that time Louie Louie was a big hit, and I said, I gotta adapt that together with this. So I got Farmer John and I matched it to Louie Louie type chords and beat. It was kind of a white sound, yet it was a Chicano sound. It sounded like a top 40.
What it was the breakout, the song that says to every kid who ever beat on a drum or plucked an electric guitar in East LA, yeah, I can make a record and it can be a hit.